Okay, let's do a quick review of our introduction to algebra. So in algebra, we are introducing letters as placeholders for numbers that we don't yet know. Okay, so a letter, we call it a variable. So here, A is a variable, Y is a variable, and Z is also a variable because they're numbers, but we don't yet know what those numbers are. So we use the letter to hold their place. All right, now we call this a polynomial. So I should write that down. Polynomial expression. All of these are examples of polynomials. Okay, now polynomials have a specific name based on the number of terms. So if we look at the first one, I'm going to circle these addition and subtraction signs just so we can more clearly see our terms. All right, terms are separated by plus and minus. A term is a group of factors that are being multiplied. So 7 times A is called a term. It doesn't matter how many factors you had here. I could have 7 times A times B, and that would still be one term. Okay, so let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this has 4 terms. Now, generally, we don't give a specific name to 4 terms. We would just call this a polynomial. We have a specific name for 1 term, 2 terms, and 3 terms. Okay, now in this polynomial, we would call a term that has a number and a variable, or just a variable actually, it doesn't have to have a number. We would call this a variable term because there's a variable in it. Okay, this is also a variable term, and this is a variable term. This right here does not have a variable, so we call it a constant or a constant term. Okay, so the number 4 is a constant, but the 4 on its own is the constant term in this polynomial. All right, so those are the main parts when we break down a polynomial. Let's look at the second one. I'm going to circle the subtraction sign so we can more clearly see our terms. So 6x is a term and 12 is a term. So this polynomial has 2 terms. A polynomial with 2 terms is called a binomial because bi means 2. So a binomial. Now this here is my variable term. Okay, this here, 12 is my constant. So this term right here is called my constant term. All right, let's look at this one. Let's circle our plus and minus signs. We just got 2 addition signs so we can clearly see our terms. Here we have a group of factors being multiplied, 4 times x, we have 3 times y, and then we also have 7. Okay, so this one has 3 terms, 1, 2, and 3. And a polynomial of 3 terms is called a trinomial. The word tri, like triangle, means 3. Okay, now just like before, this has an x in it, a variable, so we call this a variable term. This is a variable term, and the 7 would be our constant term. I'm going to go ahead and use these up here. Okay, our last one, 2ab. Well, I only have 1 term. I don't have any plus or minus signs. So this group of factors here, 1 term. And a polynomial with 1 term is called a monomial. Mono meaning 1. Okay, this term, because it has 2 variables in it, would be called a variable term. This polynomial does not have a constant term because there is not a number being added by itself. All right, now I forgot to mention the constant term. You might have picked up why we call it a constant is because it's a fixed number that doesn't change. So that's why we call a number on its own a constant. Whereas a variable can change, it can vary in value, so we call it a variable. All right, that's it for our basic review, our review of our introduction to algebra.